Okay, welcome. This video is a quick add-on to our lesson on graphing exponential functions with shifts. So if you missed that day or didn't quite understand, this one will help you out. So remember, take your notes out and remember to pause the video and rewind the video to keep your notes complete, or if you didn't quite understand something, and we'll get going. Okay, so we're going to graph f of x is equal to 4 times 2 to the x minus 4 power, all minus 5. Now this is an exponential function. Our variable, you can see, is an exponent. And we have some shifts up here. We have a negative 4 and a negative 5. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to graph this graph without the shifts. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it. I'm going to pull off the minus 4 and the minus 5. So I'm going to graph these points first, and then I will shift them according to the translation up here. Okay, here we go. So step number 1, we want to identify our A and B. A is always first, and B always has the variable exponent. So in this case, A is 4, and B is 2. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to put in some points. So there's your X, here's your Y. I always like to start with 0, our initial amount. So 0 is always our A. 2 to the 0 power is 1. So this would be 4 times 2 to the 0 power. So we'll illustrate that it's always going to be A, which is equal to 4 times 2 to the 0 power is always 1. And for you guys who still think anything to the 0 power is 0, quit. It's always 1. Alright, there it is, a 0.04. I like to go with 1, positive number, and that's always A times B, because anything to the first power is always itself. So to illustrate that, that's 4 times 2 to the first, which is simply 4 times 2, or 8. And let's go with a negative number. Let's go with a negative 1. Let's see what's happening on the negative side of the graph. This is going to be 4 times 2 to the negative 1 power. Remember, negative means a reciprocal. So go ahead and flip that over. And 4 times 1/2 is simply just 2. Now the more points we get, the more accurate our graph is going to be. But this is sufficient for our rough graph. So plotting our points, we're going to plot them lightly. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 0, 4. We have 1, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, slightly off. Let's put them up here. And we have 1, negative 2. Sorry, negative 1, positive 2. So it's going like that. Okay, so these are my 3 points. I can see that it's probably coming down like this. And remember, I have the asymptote at y is equal to 0. Okay, so let's remind there, you have this line. At y is equal to 0. That means the graph gets really close. It's your asymptote, but never quite touches it. Okay, now let's talk about the shifts. Now remember, the shifts, these are just like we shifted every other, or translate is the correct word, because we're only shifting it up or down, or left and right, vertically and horizontally. So to translate this, it's just like we did the parabolas, the absolute values, and the radical functions, and yeah, we can name them all. This is your H. H is our horizontal movement, and this is your K. This is your vertical movement. So we're going to move all our points. In this case, H is 4. It's following the minus sign. We like to look at it as the opposite. Opposite of negative 4 is positive 4. So since H is 4, we're going to move it 4 to the positive direction, each point. And K is negative 5. So that means we're going to move our points down 5. So 4 to the right and 5 down. So I'll go ahead and change color. Your points are done lightly, so it's a lot easier to see. Or, sorry, your points are done lightly, and we're going to make these really dark. So let's start with the bottom point. I'm going to move it over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There it is. Okay, there's my new point. When I'm done my own point, like, if you can't erase it, just cross them out. Next point, over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last point, over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 5. Remember, he's up 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And lastly, we have to move the asymptote. The asymptote's at 0. Now, it doesn't make any sense to move it over 4, so we're simply going to just drag this down or redraw it at 5 down. So there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your asymptote's going to be right here. Okay, most people who miss this forget to move the asymptote. So now it's just a matter of connecting the dots. My graph comes down through these points and kind of goes this way. Remember, the more points you find, the more accurate your graph will be. So we could have found more negative points. That would give us a little better idea of what's going on through here. But this is sufficient. So again, most people forget to move the asymptote. You know, you can move it over 4 all you want, but it doesn't change the line at all. But moving it vertically down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's where it changes. Okay, ooh, don't do that. Let's go ahead and review. So quickly, we're going to graph without the shifts. Plot those points, just find a few points, a 0, one positive, one negative, or a few positive and a few negative. Get up here and plot your points, look at your shift, and then we're going to shift each point. Remember, I didn't do to these, but it's good to erase them or cross them out, and that way you don't get too many points jumbled up. And that's how we do it. So if you have any questions, go ahead and write them down, and I will answer them in class.